the ink was barely dry on the Fed statement last week announcing QE2 when a distressed email lit up my inbox. Quote unquote, something needs to be done about Bernanke. And it was from none other than Nassim Taleb, the prophet of risk, economist, distinguished professor at NYU, and author of The Black Swan, Fooled by Randomness, and the soon-to-be-published Bed of Procrustes. Nassim has some deep concerns, you might say, about U.S. monetary policy, and he is breaking his self-imposed media blackout to raise them right here on the Inside Track. Nassim, we love it when you come in. Tell me, what is your beef with Bernanke?
It seems to me, from what I see, that these people do not understand risk.
Okay,
I mean,
but you need to explain, because people would look at Ben Bernanke, right?
Yes.
A long career at Princeton.
Yes.
Nobody would count him out as an intellect, an expert on the Depression. How is it that Ben Bernanke doesn't understand risk?
Well, two things. The first thing is, did he see the crisis? Did he see the accumulation of hidden risk in the system? No. So, and he was flying the plane. He crashed the plane because he didn't know about hurricanes or things that can cause turmoil. So visibly he underestimated risk. He's sort of risk blind from his analysis of the situation before the crisis, when he deemed it was the great moderation. That's number one. Number two, he reminds me of LTCM people.
Long-term capital management.
Capital management. He reminds me of him. You know, here you had brilliant people with great academic record, and they blew up a fund and almost blew up Wall Street. Okay, and of course the Fed helped save, and of course the Fed did not learn from the misuse of tools. So here we have a symptom that you notice in economic academia of use of wrong tools that underestimate risk. I don't mind someone saying, this is a policy, these are the risks, these are the returns, let's see how it works. Bernanke does not seem to be taking that approach. He is someone who talks about returns without talking about risk. It's identical to a pilot who is talking about speed, not talking about safety. The measures he is using, this quantitative easing, may work, it may work, but should it fail, the risks are humongous. I was in Europe last week, and everybody was obsessive about Bernanke.
Nassim, let's talk about what Randall Krosner was discussing with us. You heard his comments there, and he also told Deirdre that QE2 makes sense because it's an insurance policy effectively against deflationary expectations, and maybe the only way for the U.S. to avoid a repeat of what we saw in Japan.
This guy was governing the Fed.
He was a governor of the Fed, yes. He's currently an economics professor at the University of Chicago.
It's good that he moved to the University of Chicago.
Why?
It's like, he reminds me of those people who sell options, sell out of the money option, and claim that it's safe, all right? And in this case, this guy not only is claiming that it's safe, but is saying that it's a thing to do for insurance purpose. He should definitely stay at the University of Chicago and not get involved in economic life.
Nassim, when we were talking before the break, you said that Ben Bernanke is not only the man who crashed the plane, he's back in the pilot seat, and he is ignoring risks. The question for you is this. How much greater are these risks now that quantitative easing is in place than they were beforehand?
Well, okay, go talk to a German, okay, particularly someone who has studied Weimar Republic, and they'll understand what the risks are. You short an out-of-the-money option on hyperinflation, because I mean, look at how gold is reacting. So the point is that you may print, or do these devious methods, to hide that you're printing, and no effect. Just like a ketchup bottle, you're pouring ketchup and nothing's coming out, and then you make a statement like Bernanke that you have evidence that this is working, all right, okay, that there's no risk. And then suddenly, just as with an out-of-the-money option, the whole ketchup
coats your French fries.
Coats your everything, the whole table, everything, your face, everything. Something explodes. So this is the problem of nonlinearities that the economics establishment has not been able to understand. Let's go back to the basics. He did not see the risk in the system before. Why are you listening to him when he is talking about what to do? Why are you listening to him?
Where do you see the risks? You mentioned gold. Where else are they?
No. Let me talk about something a little more, even more serious. is assuming there's a very small risk. Who is bearing that small risk? People who are retirees. The debasement of the currency is something that will be borne by those who were the victims, will not be the ones who benefited from the crisis. The thing is, you're trying to print money to bail out those who have made mistakes by taking a mortgage they shouldn't be taking, by doing, people make a lot of mistakes, and by bankers. Who's paying the price? Retirees, and you're debasing the currency, and people who hold your currency, you see. It's an insult to those who have bought dollars in the past. Okay, so it's not the fact that you have this, not only this asymmetry that we've seen with the Obama administration. Those who pay the price are not those who got us here. Okay, but and there's, in addition to that, you have the morality. Is we're making future generations with the deficits. It's a whole package: a deficit, quantitative easing.
So do you agree with Alan Greenspan that the intent, effectively, of quantitative easing is to devalue the currency, the debasement, as you describe it?
I don't know. When I hear Greenspan, I shut down, so I don't listen, because I don't take, again, we're talking
just
about...
Just what, he was one of the other pilots?
Well, this is what they've been tinkering with the economy, trying to tinker with the economy, thinking they're smarter than the economy, trying to iron out the cycle. And he, effectively, by putting interest rates at close to zero, invited people to take these hidden risks, and they didn't see it.
I've given you plenty of opportunity to trash Ben Bernanke. I know how you feel about quantitative easing, but people say, hey, it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. Tell us what the Fed should be doing instead. What should Ben Bernanke be doing? What should Randall Krosner, whom we quoted earlier, have been doing?
It's not a Fed problem. It's a deficit problem we're having here. The people want a free lunch. It reminds me of people who lose money in the market, and then when I was an option trader, and would call me up for a magic way to make their money back. That's what the Bernanke, that's what the Obama team is doing. Instead of accepting that we have a risk problem, we have lost money, and you don't double up with future generations' money, either by increasing deficits or by debasing the currency. So it's the same. You have to face the thing that there's no free lunch. So it's not
you can't
like going
solve
around.
Debt with debt.
You cannot solve the main problem was risk in the system. You cannot solve a risk problem by risky methods. You have to accept, what we're doing to the Greeks. We're forcing the Greeks to reduce to say, okay, you spent money you didn't have. Okay, now you're going to have to cut down. We're going to have to face the same thing. And you're going to take pain. It's painful, but that's life.
Okay, so do we need then to change the Fed's dual mandate? Should the Fed not be worried about full employment and price stability? Should the Fed be worried about something else right now?
The Fed's business should be price stability. Unfortunately, their business seems to be price instability. They can't. I mean, they're not fulfilling, what we want from a currency that replaced gold. Think about this country.
But the Fed's mandate does not apply to currency. It applies to prices.
Price stability in a country,
in U.S. dollars. Price. I mean, I guess there is obviously a derivative effect.
Visibly, if you see gold tripling in price, now it goes about up 40% in the past couple of years. If you see things tripling in price, it's going to transfer to goods and services. It's going to transfer to things, and people are going to jump and start accumulating these items at currency without government. So the Fed is not there to put cosmetic paint on a fundamental problem, which is that we have too much debt in the system, and that debt needs to be broken, and by punishing those who got us here, not by punishing the other people. And I can't understand. I came to this country from Lebanon when the currency went from $3 to $1 to about $1,500 to $1, okay? I remember I was complete, and I came here and I felt stability. I feel now as jittery as when I was in Lebanon, when as a child, there was the beginning of civil war, when they started printing and say, oh, no, don't worry about it, okay? It was just temporary, okay? These things are never temporary. I actually have an aphorism here by saying nothing is as permanent as things called temporary.
What does this mean? Before we go, I want to ask you, the Bed of Procrustes, the Black Swan, people got that imagery. Yeah. What's this all about?
Okay, there was a gentleman who had an inn. He was actually he abducted travelers, and he had an inn, and he would feed people a great dinner, and after dinner he would put them in a bed. Those who were too tall, he would cut their legs, and those who were too short, he would stretch them. And his nickname hence Procrustes, meaning the stretcher in Greek. It's about a situation in which you try to change humans rather than change your methods. It's mostly
like fitting a square peg into a round hole.
Exactly. It was just like the idea came to me when I was I went to a tailor for a tailor-made suit, and I realized that had the tailor been Bernanke or an economist, they would put surgery on me to fit the suit rather than change the suit to fit me. So
the analogy in your mind applies to the U.S. economy?
Of course, to economic methods, to social science. They want to change humans, just like Greenspan. They want to change no more bubbles. You want to change this utopic view of the world. You want to change the world to fit their model rather than change their model to fit the world. Okay.
Nassim, we love it when you come to the Inside Track. Please come back soon. Nassim Taleb, always outspoken. You can't afford to ignore him. He is the author of The Black Swan and the soon-to-be-published Bed of Procrustes.